Portugal 2, Spain 2. Portugal won 5-3 on pens after extra time. And my goodness, they've done it. They've won the Nations League for a second time. It was a glorious victory for the Portuguese, Jim. They were in good voice all throughout the game, and certainly after the game had finished, you saw the supporters and the players having lovely moments together. Ronaldo had his tears. What did you make of the whole thing?
Yeah, I wondered if we might see Ronaldo tears, and we saw Ronaldo tears of joy, which is fair enough. 40 years old, scoring a goal in a final like that. Scoring goals out of muscle memory now, which makes me think he'll be able to do this when he's dead. Like, he actually doesn't even need to be sentient. His body will carry on after he himself has expired. But
rolling a defender in the grave rather than just simply rolling. Yeah.
Very good.
Turning his man in the grave. I think what's interesting about the Nations League, or certainly this final, obviously very small sample size, is that I think because the stakes are lower in a game like this, it tends to make for a better final.
Yeah.
It's not as cagey. Teams don't necessarily approach it in the kind of let's not lose it way that you see quite often. And it made for a really entertaining game. I thought it was really, really good. Both sides showed a lot of quality. Obviously couldn't be separated in normal time, and it only took the most predictable thing in the world from Alvaro Morata to separate it. And I just really enjoyed it as a spectacle. I missed the beginning of the game. And when I turned on, Mark Cucurella was being booed. And I was like, part of me was like, I wonder why this is happening. And I was like, this could be anything, or it could be nothing. It could be that they just decided to do that from the beginning.
Take against him, yeah.
I guess he'd be being booed for the handball in the Euros by some of the local Germans. They've not forgotten. Peter, what did you make of it all?
I mean, it was. I think the way that sort of Ronaldo celebrated his goal was very much like, I only need one chance to put it in the net. And you do sort of look at all of the other teams that, played last night, for example, or played at the weekend, for example. Teams like Germany who had chance after chance and just didn't manage to get it in the net. You sort of go, oh, it's actually quite valuable, isn't it? Just to have someone at the top of the tree. But it was two teams that, the Spanish substitutions made that team worse, I think. And they really didn't have the legs. Lamal spent a lot of time just kind of sort of passing back, I suppose, rather than actually moving the ball forward. So I think it was just a team of one team that had depth, one team that didn't have the legs, and the other one that really did, headed up by a 40-year-old man.
It's incredible. Yeah, no, you're right. I mean, Spain did sort of fade a bit as the game went on, but it was a glorious victory for Portugal. But in the early stages of the game, Vish, I think that a number of people, including myself, thought, blimey, Spain are just going to, like we saw in the semi-final, they could just blitz this. Yeah,
I'm quite surprised that they didn't. I suppose, whenever we're talking about football at this time of year, we'll always throw in the fact that we're so, they've played a lot of football so far, and I wonder if that was a reason why they tailed off a little bit. But yeah, I thought Portugal have this knack of just clinging on, don't they? Mm-hmm. Just staying in a game, and you don't really associate it with certainly a lot of the players that they have now. But there are a lot of fighters in there.
There's a canniness about them.
Yeah, and they always seem to like underpinning everything, even like underpinning like what Vitinha does. Mm-hmm. There's a steeliness that like he doesn't necessarily have to have the ball in his case. But it was weird. I found it a little bit weird as the game went on, rooting against the 17-year-old. Knowing that the 40-year-old might win.
It was strange.
Didn't seem right.
A man just called Lamal. I meant Yamal.
Yeah.
I get stuck in Lamine Yamal. It's a tricky one. It's weirdly tricky.
Yes.
It's quicker. You've just, it.
Lamal. Yeah. Enjoy it.
I this is my favourite iteration of Cristiano Ronaldo at this age playing in this Portugal side, because the ego is, obviously it's there, but it's not a ferocious beast, because he understands, as I mentioned on Friday, he's kind of on borrowed time.
He's 40.
Yes, exactly.
The team are kind of serving him in the same way that Argentina served Messi a little bit, I find.
Well, Messi's got more like a tank, obviously, but...
I guess... I just sort of... Everybody's sort of opinion of Ronaldo is that he's a bit of an idiot outside of the Portuguese. And then the Portuguese team really seem to like him, and it's like,
but you can understand.
Maybe he isn't that much of an idiot, but maybe he is an idiot. Maybe
he's got 100...
Maybe you just have to respect all of his... 86 goals since turning 30.
Yeah.
I mean, that's insane.
138 international goals. There is going to be a modicum of respect there.
Yeah. There's a lot of respect.
Of course, there's a lot of respect. And
it's
the fans
the other stuff.
It's the other stuff.
No, but what I was going to say was that Ronaldo in this team, there is a sort of, dare I even say, a dash of humility in that he realises it's rare for him to acknowledge his surroundings, but he very much is in this side, that he thinks, it's not a given that he starts, although some people may think obviously, because he picks himself. But
who else is out there who can play?
I mean, Gonzalo Ramos it would be the obvious choice.
He's not exactly kicking the door down, is he?
Well, I mean, he did when he scored those, what was it, 4 or 5 goals he scored against Switzerland in the World Cup.
Ago, wasn't it?
Well, okay, but anyway, Ronaldo, again, you see with the celebrations, he feels like one of the team rather than Cristiano.
He really
Ronaldo.
cares about it
Completely,
and you can tell it's a genuine team. Thing, as you say.
Indeed. But he got the 4th of the 4 goals. But again, though, when Spain started the game, Guillaume Balaguer, who was on the who was in the studio on ITV here, was saying that with Spain at the moment, we just feel that we're going to turn up and win. And there is that vibe about them. And it looked like, again, in those early stages, that was going to be the case. Zubimendi scores, and they looked on top. And Portugal, for a minute, were like a bit on the back foot, thinking, bloody hell, okay. But responded quickly, though.
Yeah, I mean, Nuno Mendes is a proper superstar now.
Yeah.
Proper, like, Galactico in the old school sense. Is there a better left back? I can't think of one.
Yeah.
And he's one of those players where he's one of those big players where kind of essentially regardless of their position, and this is why I kind of put him in that bracket, they influence and affect games every time you see them. They make a tangible, positive difference every time, and he was no different here. He was brilliant. I thought he shackled Yamal very well. Nearly called him Lamal then.
Yes.
And obviously his goal was brilliantly taken. His penalty was brilliantly tucked away as well. It was absolute, like I say, an absolute superstar. And he was a big part of that drive. And actually the core of that PSG team were, again, a really big reason for Portugal getting that handle in the game. And you're right, because it is that robustness that they have, isn't it? That you feel like actually they are not comfortable conceding a goal, but they're not going to lose their heads. No. They know what to do.
Well, you're right. With Nuno Mendes at left back, he's a complete footballer. So when he bursts forward and he has a chance to score,
he looks like a forward player.
He finishes like a forward who gets 30 goals a season or something. It was a brilliant goal, and much was made of the players that he shackled this season. Yamal, Saka, and you list them off. And it's very impressive. But even then, though, I still felt Spain were on top, Vish. It wasn't until towards the end of the game when they started to kind of drift off a bit. But in that second half, Martinez starts to make a few changes, and you see that depth they have. Obviously, Spain have as well. But you see Portugal come back into it.
Well, yeah, I think the change that I thought was really good, in part because A, it was quite obvious, and B, I don't really know what I think of him in terms of like whether I truly rate him as like an elite footballer. I don't mean like world class. I mean just like someone who can change these kind of games. But he did change his game yesterday. It was Rafael Leao because he comes on, and I wonder with him, he's always encouraged or discouraged by his first moment in a game. Yeah. And maybe I think with him you're also able to tell, are you going to have a good game today?
Yeah.
And he blitzes past it would have been I think it was like Lenormand at one point. And he clearly has a bit between his teeth. He's like, yeah, I quite fancy this,
He's a perfect player to bring on in that moment, isn't he?
Yeah, but then, I suppose, as I said, I never really know what to expect from him because I feel like he's quite hot or cold. But that seemed to change the dynamic completely because then it gave them something to worry about.
What I love about that, though, is that this brilliant Spain side, who, again, one can be very starry-eyed about. And, after that game against France where France, I know they rallied a bit, but Spain just sort of blew them away. You think, pissing hell, this side, surely they're going to walk the World Cup next summer. And then when you see them in the sort of towards the latter stages of the game, and I understand that he plays exhausted, you bring on a guy who's just got fantastic pace, and even they are resorted to bringing him down. Yeah. Right, it's your turn, all that kind of stuff. And you think, yes, so sometimes football,
it's a very simple game.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, because they brought on Porro at the start of extra time,
who nearly chipped the goalkeeper from his own
class. Yeah.
Pedro Porro. Yeah, but you see though, he's having a. We talk about Bruno Fernandes and all these players like this must be a proper holiday and an absolute joy for them. Pedro Porro's shooting from the halfway line.
Nation League de party.
Yeah,
totally. But you were going to say Vish, though.
The fact that they brought him on at the start of extra time, and as you say, like he still had to try and he did foul Leao on the break, and it was like you've had a 30-minute head start on this bloke.
He's probably still a bit tanked up though, isn't he?
Yeah, certainly, yeah.
But I mean, for all Portugal's array of talent and individual players and so on, it was the 40-year-old who dug them out A nice finish. It was, obviously the deflected cross, but his movement and you saw that poacher's instinct, Peter. And the celebration was interesting, wasn't it? As Jim mentioned earlier, he sort of gestured to the bench and he held up one finger, didn't he? And I thought, I don't know if he was going, that's one. I've got another one in me.
I've got one hamstring left.
Yeah. I mean, what a hamstring, though.
Well, you do sort of worry that in a major competition, which you imagine Portugal will go very, very far indeed in it, the way that they're playing at this moment in time. He's done 2 matches there where he's played really well and he's looked very much a part of that team.
2 vital goals, the winner and the equaliser.
Yeah. Where do you see him in a tournament? Do you sort of keep his minutage down? Can you keep his minutage down? Would you allow that? Mm-hmm. Would you want to play the opening 3 matches in the World Cup in that heat? I just think
he's had the Saudi training though.
He has had the Saudi
seems like a master stroke now.
Yeah. Exactly. Well, how's he going to spend the next season? Where's he going to spend the next season?
Well, he's actually. I think he's going to stay at Al Nassr,
right?
According to something I saw on Instagram on the way here.
All right, no further questions.
I think it was Romano.
Right, okay. Romano's on the.
I saw something on Instagram. I think he'll probably stay where he is.
Look, that's all.
But it is a fair question.
I can't reveal my sources.
No, you can't.
I can just say it was probably Fabrizio Romano.
Okay, but you can't reveal his sources, though. No, because that would be bad.
Because that's loads of agents.
But no, you're right, Peter. It is a fair question because. I knew obviously he's not going to do this, but in the same way I wanted Postecoglou to, literally announce it on the pitch when the celebrations are going on and ask me done, up yours, everybody. And of course he's never going to do that, really. I actually would have had so much respect for him that if he'd have retired last night. And people go, oh, come on, it's the UEFA Nations League. The scene's a celebration. But I understand, of course he's not going to do that because it's Cristiano Ronaldo. He's never going to retire. And the thought of being a part of a Portugal squad, which could really have a go at winning the World Cup next summer, is obviously tantalising. Yeah. But it was just such a happy and joyous moment for him and Portugal. But anyway, I'm just being a silly old fool there.
Did you see the fully grown man who'd brought a handmade sign that said, Cristiano, please let me touch you?
Oh, yes, wow. I did see that. Yes.
Right.
Yeah.
Oh, I see. Well, was it?
It's the sort of passion he inspires even now.
I think it's fair to say. But I mean,
I was going to make a terrible joke there that we would have had to cut out.
Okay.
Let's all pretend I made it.
Yes.
Oh, no.
Whoa.
Steady, Vish.
Careful. But a year, from 40 to 41, it's not 31 to 32.
No.
So
the deterioration speeds up. Yeah.
Does he make little noises when he sits down like the rest of us do?
Yeah,
maybe.
Surely not.
And my daughter, as I was saying before,
just copying
my my old man noises.
I mean, if he wants to be there, and clearly he's in. I mean, we know he will be in great shape.
Yeah. A lot of retirement cities in the US as well.
A lot of them, yeah.
That's a good point. Actually,
I thought he might go and play for a year there, get himself bedded in.
It's quite grueling, isn't it? There's a lot of travel.
There is a lot of travel, and also it's much faster and physically
got commercial as well.
I'm hearing he's staying at Al Nassr.
Okay. Sorry, we are foolish to question that, Jim.
Saucy Jim.
Indeed. But it was a marvellous moment for him, and also for Roberto Martinez. By the way,
I think that's fair.
And on ITV they said something again. Now I have sort of turned into this Roberto Martinez apologist, right? Mark Pugash on ITV, who we all love, said when he was going through his Martinez's managerial resume, said I won the thing won the FA Cup, we got relegated to Everton, and then said Belgium, it didn't quite happen at Belgium. It's like this myth that Martinez did. Martinez at the 28, I'm going to do it again, everybody.
Right,
2018 World Cup, they won all 3 group games. They had that great turnaround against Japan, brilliant win against Brazil in the quarterfinal, and they were edged by, I think we can all agree, the best team in that tournament, France, 1-0, and then they beat England in the third place playoff, which some people go, who cares about the bronze medal match, but some people do, they get a medal. And when they return home heroes.
Yeah, Belgium's tiny.
Exactly, it was their best ever appearance at a World Cup. He took over from Mark Wilmots, who was really crap in charge, and then the Euros, what would it be, 3 years later? I think you saw them, Vish, when they went out to Italy, or maybe I'm mistaken.
Yeah.
They got to the quarterfinals. They'd done okay, but Italy were the best team in that tournament. as they proved, and they edged them. And I think De Bruyne was a bit injured in that game, and blah blah blah. Yeah, in the last World Cup in Qatar, yeah, it was poor. You know, you held your hands up, but that team was ageing, and so on. So this idea that he didn't really do very well with Belgium, I would disagree with. It's not a hill I might die on. It's a hill I would take a punch on.
Have I got Pugas for what he said about the Qatar World Cup?
I think that's been and done.
Is that okay?
Yeah. If he's still around for Saudi,
okay.
If he's still broadcasting there, then we'll have another one.
Oh, big shoe in. Maybe in the tournament.
He's got the job if he wants it.
Yeah.
He's like Cristiano Ronaldo. If he wants to play at the Qatar,
I don't like
Saudi.
alcohol. I think it should be one City World Cup actually.
Well, Peter.
So impression Mark Pugas.
You want to be careful because your daughter will start making that noise.
Yeah. You know, at the start when you said we all respected Mark Pugas.
Most of us do. Yeah. Most of us do. Yeah. So, and Portugal at the last Euros were a little bit disappointing, considering the attacking talent that they have. I think that we're just seeing a little bit more of a flavour of it in this Nations League. And that's why the Nations League is great, because it is a testing ground as well, but it's with the closest thing you'll get to a Euros or a World Cup.
It's the intensity, isn't it?
Yeah. Totally, yeah.
I mean, we do sort of laugh at the Nations League sometimes, and a lot of people do.
I don't.
And I know you don't.
No.
But
no. That is a hill I will die on.
In terms of what it's replacing, it should be mentioned at every opportunity that it's so much better than what came before.
It is,
and it's an extra layer of competitive football, and I do think it makes a difference.
It's one of the great triumphs of UEFA.
UEFA's bureaucracy.
UEFA's
got it done.
Business. But yeah, so there was chat that the Portugal Federation would replace him with perhaps Jorge Jesus or Jose Mourinho.
Yes.
So it looks like Martinez will carry on. So more power to his elbow until they beat England, of course, in the World Cup next summer. Now, in the bronze medal match, France got it. They got it. 2-0 they beat Germany, of course. As Pete mentioned earlier, though, Germany had their chances. It was a better performance from Germany. I think they needed that, Vish, because they've been a bit disappointing. And obviously, with that game against Portugal, they were second best. And I think somebody was starting to get a little bit concerned within Germany about their national team at the moment.
Good. That's what it's supposed to be like this.
Yeah. You got one, haven't you?
Yeah,
one of the big boys.
You're not supposed to be able to rely on being good at tournaments.
No.
They have. Where is the angst, Germany?
Yeah.
Here it is.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
You know, having been to the semi-finals of the Nations League.
Yeah.
No, it was. I thought it was quite a strange game, purely because I think it was like. It was watching Deschamps' like reactions on the sideline of someone who clearly thought he was going to win, then wasn't sure he was going to win, and then when Elise ends up scoring that breakaway goal when he gets played across by Mbappé, celebrates like, yeah, I always knew it. We're so good. This is why I'm still in the job.
He was happy to get his bronze.
He was, yeah.
Because he's got the other two. He's won a gold. He's won a...
Yeah, of course, yeah. Well, he's runners-up at the 22 World Cup.
And now he's got the full set.
Yeah.
You know,
what every athlete wants.
Yeah, not quite.
One of each.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
A bit like Chelsea when they won the Conference League. But we've won all three tiers now. So yeah, they've got. I remember when England won the bronze at the Nations League, and they said that there was to have a bit of pomp and ceremony would be ridiculous.
Right.
But some
open
bloke
top. Give us the open top.
Exactly. Yeah. But some bloke did just hand them the bronze medals in a plastic bag. Apparently. Before you leave, there you
on
go.
a trading estate. Lovely.
Exactly. Yeah.
I've come to pick up the bronze medals. Yeah, they're just over there. Just
like a Facebook marketplace buy.
Is someone posing in a mirror with the medals?
Oh, dearie me. Gentlemen, do you see that Marc-Andre ter Stegen made a great save from Kylian Mbappé?
Yes.
I did see that, yes.
He's an impressive goalkeeper. He's reportedly ready to go to war with his club Barcelona after news that Espanyol goalkeeper Joan Garcia is expected to sign. Is that going to endear him to them? I'm going to go to war with you.
It's really strange, this, because he's said like, oh, loads of stuff has been leaked to make me look bad, etc., etc. And I think this is personal. It's not a sporting thing, which is mad. And he's insisting that he's going to stay there. He said a really interesting thing, which was that the exact quote is, "If I remember correctly, and if no news has happened in the last few hours, we only have 2 goalkeepers for next season, Inaki Peña and me." It's like, yeah, but they are going to sign Wojciech Szczesny and they are going to sign Joan Garcia. So like that might be true now, but it's quite a mad thing to say.
Yeah. Also, I can understand his frustration simply because, like, where have you got this money from?
Yeah.
You don't have any money. Well, how are you buying these players?
They always find it, don't they?
Yeah.
But I don't know. Well,
levers this and, boxes that.
Yeah.
They find a way.
Very strange. But of course, he's not had much fun in the UEFA Nations League. Of course, 2 defeats for Germany.
Oh, but I mean, it's probably worth reminding the German backline that if you do pass the ball to Kylian Mbappé, he can't be offside. So, just worth remembering
That's
that.
right. And was Mbappé in his own half?
He was behind both defenders in his
Own half.
Yeah.
What are they doing? Although, as Pete says, it's not the worst thing they did because passing him the ball was even worse.
Yeah, it was the moment where they were like, I suppose we have to run after him, don't we?
Yeah.
I don't want to catch him.
And Elise, yeah. I was just like, wouldn't it have been amazing if they'd have just stopped?
Yeah,
And the two of them,
exactly.
They could have played a 1-2 round the goalkeeper.
You know, like the last 5 minutes of 5 sides, fuck it.
Yeah.
Do you think part of you, when you're playing with a player that high profile, it's quite exciting and you forget yourself? Go, oh, go on, give him the ball, see what he can do.
Yeah.
It was the very definition of a third place playoff, this one.
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, well, what a shame. But 3 defeats in a row for Germany and Julian Nagelsmann now. Anyway, coming up after this, England, they beat Andorra.
How far away are Arsenal from the European trophy? 4 miles!
Welcome back to the Football Ramble, everybody. That was Robbie Williams performing live at the Emirates, taunting Arsenal fans.
Taunting.
Cretin.
And,
Taunting.
Yeah,
Is he a cretin?
Actually, you know what? He was in that Boy Bands Forever documentary recently, wasn't it? And he came across really well, actually. Fair play to Robbie, but that's annoyed me personally.
Would you like to pull his skin off
him? We would do that himself.
Yeah, he'd do it himself.
Sooner or later.
Oldie does it, mate.
I've heard he's a small little monkey now.
well,
Yeah.
He's a dickhead. Based on his own song, Dickhead, which I urge you to Google.
Yeah.
Would you call him a prat, Jim?
Yeah, I would.
Bloody
Not
prat.
to his face. I'd probably say, you know what? You came across really well in that documentary. Fair play to you. You're prat.
But I didn't like what you said about my football club.
Yeah, exactly.
In our stadium.
So just curry favour.
You come round my house.
I may have mentioned once or twice I live near the stadium, and there's not a drop of rosé left in that postcode. He was there for 2 nights. They've had a lovely time. He ended with Angels, and then they all just sang Angels for about half an hour after it.
Was that
just gradually filtering out of the
That's
stadium?
nice, isn't it, Jim?
All of them singing Angels. It was nice.
Bring a bit of joy.
Everyone had a lovely time.
Bit of
Was
joy
that
to
clip
you.
recorded from your bedroom?
Yes, it was.
Well, actually, it was thanks to friend of the Ramble, Robert from LA, for sending us that clip.
You can hear it in LA.
Indeed, yeah.
Wow.
I'm moving to LA. Isn't that one of his songs? Hot Fudge.
God, no.
Yeah, that's one of Robbie's
So we
songs.
had Robbie Williams and Beyonce in London at the same time performing.
Yeah, right,
not she wasn't
yeah.
visiting.
Oh, right.
There were people
Was she
milling about for
supporting him?
hours and hours before it, and because you get used to the sort of the feeling of that, it felt like there's this great sense of anticipation. It's like, we're playing Barlow tonight. This is a big one. It felt like Robbie had a big match, you know?
Yeah.
The Robbie Williams ultras walking through town
Yeah.
and the Beyonce ultras throwing stones at them. Yeah.
Well, you can become a friend of The Ramble by joining our Patreon for just $5 a month. You'll also get every episode of The Ramble on the continent and upfront ad-free and access to the Football Ramble Discord. Of course, search patreon.com/Football Ramble to get involved. Andorra 0, England 1. Always pleasing to keep a clean sheet. England continued their unbeaten start to qualification for the 2026 World Cup.
And that's the story.
3 wins out of 3, Jimbo. Top of the league, the group, with 9 points.
No goals conceded.
No goals conceded.
So far, so good.
So we move on now to Scotland versus Thomas Tuchel. He questioned the players' body language and attitude, saying we lacked seriousness.
I look at this, and the whole thing to me feels like an anxiety dream where you manage England and whatever you do, you pick 35-year-old Jordan Henderson. Like, hang on, have I put Henderson in the squad? Hang on, I've started him. I've put him up front as well. Hang on, he's making the... He's cooking the food. Wow, he's doing the PR. Oh no, he's doing the PR. Oh God, don't let him speak.
We've got loads of space wide, but we're not using it.
Yeah.
And we've seen this under Southgate. Southgate's done this before, but then he changed up, and we've not seemed to have learned anything from Southgate's tenure. But I mean, a win's a win. No pictures on the score sheet, Marcus. Let's move on.
Let's move on.
I do think, as is the case with England, isn't it? It's probably a bit overblown, and it's not it's not representative of what England will be like when they get to that tournament. You do want them to look a bit more fluid and comfortable and whatnot. And aside from Morgan Rogers having a lovely little dance through the Andorran defence, there was not much to sort of take away from it that was positive, was there?
Noni Madueke.
Actually, Noni Madueke had a really good game. But
he can't shoot though, can he?
No, I mean, but
chose not to at one point.
Well, Vish, how much credence do you put into this performance? Because it's kind of, I think maybe sort of pre-Southgate era of England, this would be seen as a disaster. There would be an inquest, and it would be all like, it's a disgrace. What are they doing?
Even under Southgate, this would have been controversial.
Well, I think the fact that this didn't really happen under Southgate. I mean, if this was under Southgate, then England would have been crucified. Whereas now there seems to be some people saying, "Don't worry about it, it's fine. It's who cares?" And some people are going, "Well, hang on, there's a little bit more to this. You can't just sort of dismiss it." Where do you sit on that?
So I thought it was a bad result and not necessarily as bad a performance.
Right.
If that makes sense. I didn't really expect anything different to what we saw.
Mm-hmm.
England, in a different situation, there are a couple of cutbacks which have a couple of cleaner finishes, and England win that 3-0.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
But I do take that the reaction to the result is kind of about right. I get that.
I mean, there was a very unique feeling that I personally had, and I'm sure one or two others had, where England are 1-0 up, of course, and there's, 15 minutes to go, and then towards the end of the game, Andorra break, and I found a couple of butterflies appear in my tummy, I thought, how on earth have they appeared? This is Andorra.
Yeah, exactly, yeah.
You know, but anyway, you were going to go and say something else.
But then I'm also like, what did we expect? I mean, a lot of the talk around England has been about, we need to find a style. We need to have a philosophy.
Mm-hmm.
Is that Tuchel's problem? It's certainly not his main priority.
No,
it's certainly not his. It's certainly not the first line in his job to help England out of this philosophical slump, because it has been a bit of a slump for a while. Because we have England have the players now to create things and create even systems out of nothing to a point. We don't necessarily need a framework of bygone eras or something that's already out there. We could create something with the players that we have, because certainly I believe we've got the depth there to do that.
Tuchel did sort of go, make a point of saying that he wanted to return England to that kind of blood and thunder kind of.
So when you say it's not his problem, he's kind of made it his problem.
Yeah, no, I'm not saying it's not his problem. I'm saying it's not his job.
Right.
It is his problem.
Yeah.
but it's not. It's not the reason he's got the job. If you know what I'm saying.
Fine, but as Pete said, Tuchel was very clear, saying, "I want to play an English style."
I think that's what I simply believe. That's just PR.
Okay.
I do not for a moment, because I don't think he necessarily plays that team if he's worried about. I appreciate this is a World Cup qualifier, so it's not necessarily like a chance to experiment in the way that I suppose I'm alluding to there. But I think that's a bit of PR. I think he just wants to win. I think he's always just wanted to win.
Yep.
When you look at his career, as you mentioned, the club side of it there, and so I didn't necessarily see this in as I certainly wasn't as dismayed by the performance as other people, because I figured that that's just what this is about.
I mean, I would be more towards your school of thought. As I say, if Andorra score late on, it's a disaster.
Yeah.
Well, not a disaster. You'd still fancy them to get through, but the fact is they didn't. And I kind of agree with you. And I suppose when people talk about it's been a long season and then players have got the Club World Cup coming up, that's all valid. And then you see the Nations League final and they're going hell for leather, and you think, I think it's more. For me, there's more of a jealousy that you're not involved in that game rather than what happened, because it is very difficult when you're faced with an opponent like Andorra to go in like as if you're playing against Germany or something.
Yes.
And there is a different feeling, and you think, okay, the goal's going to come, and when it does, another one's going to come. But I thought Noni Madueke was perhaps the only real sort of bright spark.
But he always plays like that.
Yes, he does.
He's always very, and part of it is because he's constantly playing for his place.
Yep.
He's constantly playing for a starting place at Chelsea. I appreciate, he's only playing in this particular game, or starting anyways, because Saka's not there. But he's constantly. I don't think that could have been a Champions League final, and it was Andorra, and he'd put in the same kind of effort, I suppose.
I think there's a sense in there that Tuchel mentioned that. As you said earlier, Marcus, that it wasn't serious enough. He didn't like the body language, etc., etc., etc. I think is there a potential issue that we don't really think about in international football, where essentially he's replacing a legacy manager, where there's been a real consistency there. A lot of these players have kind of seen international football in a particular way, and that's gone now, and that's changed, and maybe the approach is so different it's a little bit jarring, and they're used to a certain set of kind of traditions and a certain process, and that's now not there.
Well, are you talking on the field or off the field?
Off the field.
So that's why they probably went to see the Spanish Grand Prix. They had a week-long camp. They're trying to foster that club spirit, so they're trying to keep it going. But inevitably, if you have different people in charge of that, it will feel slightly different. Here I go. It's why he's got Jordan Henderson in there.
Yes.
It is really the reason. So he starts a game for the first time since November 2023. It is against Andorra. I think he probably starts him because Henderson is relentless with barking orders and trying to make sure standards are kept.
And because he's playing Curtis Jones at right back.
Well, yeah.
And there was a drop-off. There are drop-offs when he leaves the field.
I personally, just for the record, I wouldn't take him to the World Cup, and I wouldn't be starting him even
Take him to the World Cup, he doesn't have to play. He doesn't have to be even part of the squad. He can go. Yeah. He can, as a free man, go to the World Cup. That's fine.
Indeed, as he turned up at the Euros final. Exactly. So that are my honest. They are my honest thoughts. But the reasons for Henderson being in that side are those reasons for basically being the manager on the pitch, sort of de facto captain, trying to make sure everybody, he's good for team cohesion, he's good for team morale, all that kind of stuff.
I meant the Jones thing sincerely, by the way.
I know,
because he comes in midfield and therefore you need that cover,
Yeah, but I would rather see Jones starting at the base of that midfield, because I think it's more likely, even though Jones is a bit of a Swiss Army knife type of midfielder. But
whatever the reasons for putting Henderson in, I think you can argue it's also a missed opportunity to learn about someone else, isn't it?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. How much you learn from a game against Andorra, I don't know. But I think the idea of being very experimental, I think, is a little bit silly, though. I think you have to have something approaching what you may well do, rather than just go,
we're only a year out from it.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And also, like, the thing that people mentioned, certainly that I heard on the coverage emanating from this game, was about how England need to get better at beating these teams. No, they don't. Honestly, when was the last time that was a problem?
That bar's way too low.
Yeah, but it's also like from a bygone era. Like England have been losing finals in 2 Euros. Mm-hmm. They lost to France in the World Cup. Yeah. Their problem isn't beating smaller teams.
No. Well, Southgate put that to bed. Actually, that was one of the, dare I use the word, triumphs of his tenure, was England were winning the games they should win. It was when they came up against...
We did your Andorras, though, didn't we? We beat your San Marinos comfortably.
Exactly, Jim. That was the big takeaway. No, but it was, that's why they got to those two finals, because, slightly more fortuitous draws, you could say. But when they played against sides who were perhaps... better than them or of a more similar nature, that was the glass ceiling that needs to be punched through. That is why Tuchel's in to manage England through those types of games.
I was just furious that we couldn't play that match in Andorra, because of the games of the small states of Europe were being played at Andorra's stadium. A performance that Andorra has never been very good at. They ranked 9th in the games of the small states of Europe, 65 goals. Cyprus and Iceland dominating with 555 goals and 535 goals respectively.
Yeah, well, thank goodness we didn't play one of them, Peter.
Yeah.
Because we might not have won. But of course, Scotland did.
They're a small nation.
We move on. Scotland 1, Iceland 3. Was that a part of it?
Yeah. Well, Iceland seemed to... They're second in the table in the small games.
Yeah, Scotland, it was a bad defeat against Iceland. Poor old goalkeeper Kieran Slicker handed Slicker as well.
Yeah,
it's not what you want. You want glue hands, don't you? Johnny Glue Hands.
You want Johnny Glue Hands in goal.
I mean, I would say that, they had a lot to do and the defenders didn't cover them. I've seen Raya do that. You know what I mean? Like, you would have seen Raya do that, but you've got Saliba at the back.
You've seen Raya do that.
You've seen Raya do that. Give the ball away, panicked.
I love your dislike for David Raya as a goalkeeper.
Yeah.
You're not having him, are you?
I don't think he's good enough for Arsenal.
How have I only happened upon this?
It's a lukewarm take.
It's a lukewarm take.
Delivered on the 9th of June.
Yeah, see, well, good day to bury, controversial opinions.
Controversial opinions.
Yeah, I once called Zinedine Zidane overrated, Peter. Don't worry about it.
Don't the heads think that though?
Well, I don't know, but I do know though that Kieran Slicker had a terrible time.
Yeah.
What is he, 7th choice or something?
But Kieran Slicker was like, just talk about Zidane a bit more, please.
There is a crisis in literally being able to call up goalkeepers in Scotland at the moment. Steve Clark's had a massive issue with that by all accounts. But Slicker had to come on. He's barely played for Ipswich this season, and he if you didn't watch the game, and I'm going to assume quite a lot of people didn't watch the game, he kind of gives the ball away fairly early. After coming on,
because Angus Gunn got injured.
Comes straight back at him, and he's quite far off his line. It's a good shot, isn't it?
It's a hell of a goal.
It's a really
shot.
good goal.
It's a peach.
But he gives
so
the
far
ball
out.
That makes it.
He gives the ball away, but he tries
do
to
it.
make a pass, and he knocks it straight to an Icelandic player who's about 50 yards from goal.
Yeah, who heads it back immediately.
But the space he's given by the Scotland defence, I understand that they haven't really reset because But
the defence are spread because they're trying to give him an option to pass to.
I think it's poor all round, and I think to hone in on the goalkeeper for that one, I think is a bit harsh because it's a world-class finish. The second goal,
It's an own goal.
It's a bit unlucky. It sort of pings around, and then the third goal, he should do better.
Pat Bonner.
Wasn't as bad as that one.
But it's in the same kind of genre, isn't it?
It was awful. I felt it was awful.
I'm trying to help you. Slicker.
Yeah, but I think we all feel terrible for him.
Yeah, he's not going to win the Golden Glove 2 seasons in a row like David Raya has.
Yes. Yes.
He's fighting back.
Yes.
Yes.
That's it.
He's only 22.
Yeah, I mean, it doesn't help when the BBC, and I appreciate why they do this because a lot of people are Googling him, but when the BBC are like, what a terrible performance from Kieran Slicker. But what else do we know about the 7th choice Scotland goalkeeper? Because it looks like, right, let's go through his bins.
Yeah. Well, Clark said he
Not
was
eating enough fibre.
Clark said he was seeking to draft in another goalkeeper in Scotland who's not on holiday.
Yes.
They've called up free agent Ross Doohan and Bournemouth's 18-year-old Callan McKenna.
So there you go.
They are in a bit of bother. Yeah, but
It's only a friendly.
It's still. I mean, so I was at a mate's 40th, funnily enough, and on the day of this game, and I was talking to two Aberdonians who were as pleased as punch with their lot because they'd obviously not long witnessed Aberdeen win the Scottish Cup. Yeah, one of them missed his flight back to London, so I had to turn up on the Monday. Sorry, wife and children. But he said when he missed his flight from Edinburgh, he got the bus back up to Aberdeen so he could have more of a jolly up. But anyway, one of them was saying,
I assume you meant work then.
Yeah. One of them was saying to me, he's had a great sort of year, if you like. That he said, I saw Scotland score a goal and get a point at the Euros against Switzerland, and I've seen Aberdeen, his team, obviously win the Scottish Cup the first time since 1990. And I started trying to make the case for Scotland potentially getting that first round exit hoodoo off their back.
You have wild weekends.
Monkey off their back.
You have the wildest weekend.
And what did you do, Jim?
I took my mum to Kew Gardens. Right. Is there a better sun in this room? Doubt it.
I'm actually...
She might be terribly allergic to some of the flowers. Is there flowers there at Kew Gardens? No, there's
loads of flowers.
Yeah, it would be a terrible
That would have been a really cruel thing to do, wouldn't it?
Could have been stung by a bee.
Mum, do you want to go to the bleak garden without any flowers?
I actually have a year pass at Kew Garden. It's a marvellous spot.
Really? You got a Kew Gardens black card?
He's the king of Surrey.
You can eat any flower.
Doors open up to you when you're the king of Surrey.
Does Kew Gardens have one of those naughty poison gardens that some places have?
There's a carnivorous garden.
Is there a carnivorous garden?
With loads of Venus flytraps in it and stuff.
Is that what you're talking about?
Horrible tubular plants.
No, I'm talking about sometimes...
Does it have flowers?
Sometimes
Does it have flowers that can kill you?
Sometimes at gardens, there'll be like a section that's all sort of like full of poisonous plants.
Yeah, like a Venus flytrap.
Laburnums.
Yeah.
Right. Foxgloves.
Foxgloves, yeah, okay.
Got a lot of foxgloves there. It's very exotic.
Imagine you going to Kew Gardens. I've come for the sexy flowers.
You're not welcome back.
Reminds me of a boy I saw who I hadn't seen from school about 5 years after we left school. I saw him in the library in Hartlepool, and he went to the desk and he went, "Have you got any books on disasters?" Same energy for me. Okay. Where are the naughty flowers?
I don't want just blimps. It's always blimps.
I want to see blimps smashing into the ground. I want to see Goodyear, the logo, up in flames.
Oh, bloody hell.
Disasters.
Well, anyway, I was
Kieran Slicker energy.
I was trying to
Aberdeen,
suggest
yeah.
that if Scotland managed to qualify for the World Cup next year, being the 48-team tournament, being that it's
48.
Yeah, I know.
48.
Being the fact that, the 8 third best teams in the groups also go through. I'm like, they could genuinely actually find themselves a knockout. And as I was trying to
genuinely go out in the last 32.
they were back.
The last 32. That doesn't sound right.
Oh man, I was trying to say this to them, and they were both just looking at me not having it. And he just picked up his phone, and I hadn't seen the result of this, and he just held up his phone with the result. I went, that's, and I went, oh, yeah, sorry, lads. I don't know if Scott McTominay can dig you out of that. But they face Liechtenstein this evening, which is their final game before the World Cup qualification campaigns begins against Denmark in September. So, there's something to try and clutch to. In better news for Scottish football, though, Snoop Doggy Dogg has announced that he wants to open a Paradise Burger van at Celtic Park. He loves the Celtic fans. He says they're the best fans in Europe. He's clearly got an affinity with the club, and he said that he would serve the burgers himself.
He pops up every couple of years making some kind of mad pronouncement about something like this he's going to do in football.
Sounds quite
Hasn't he
serious.
tried to buy about several football teams?
Yeah, I think
he's always
he's
been involved in something.
I think he wants to invest, so this is the next best thing, isn't it? Getting a burger van outside.
It's my favourite Snoop Dogg thing was he once left he does gaming streaming every now and again, and he left the stream.
Whatever he likes.
I know. He left the gaming stream on all night, like in his house.
Yeah. Oh wow!
And then, Jesus. And then in the morning, he sort of came to sit down, and it was a lovely little bit of realization. Where he's like, "Oh, I've left that on all night."
but was anything? Presumably nothing was seen.
Presumably it was a gaming room, well away from us.
I was about to say he shut the door.
He shut the door.
Oh, right, okay, probably best all round. All right, coming up after this, Luciano Spalletti announces his own sacking. We mentioned Liechtenstein there, Scotland playing them tonight. Well, of course, Wales beat them 3-0 on Friday night in Cardiff.
Lichten Slugs?
Yes.
Absolutely battered.
Yeah.
Lichten Swines.
Yes.
Nice, better.
Oh, Vish was very pleased with himself. Their Group J rivals Belgium could only draw 1-1 with North Macedonia, and Wales face Belgium tonight.
They're always playing.
Yeah. Absolutely. Lovely to see Harry Wilson, as always, getting on the score sheet for Wales.
He's becoming a real sort of talisman there, isn't he? Great.
I was saying he should be starting ahead of Gareth Bale by the time when Gareth Bale was still knocking around.
Right, I thought, that's not actually a controversial opinion now.
And I think it's fair to say I've been proved right.
Yeah, he's had the last laugh.
Yet again, Marcus is right.
Bale can't even get in the squad now.
Oh, you see that? Follow me for hot tips and opinions. But yeah, so I did. They'll take some beating, Wales. I think if I was in the Belgian Cup, I'd be very, very concerned about tonight's game. So we look forward to that one. Staying with Welsh things, gentlemen. Aaron Ramsey, have you seen this? He's agreed to join Mexican side Club Universidad Nacional, or you and I call them Pumas UNAM.
Aaron Ramsey to Pumas, here we go. O al menos es lo que estamos cerca.
That's a vlogger from that part of the world. Very excited.
As soon as he
Don't show your sources.
Don't show your sources.
As soon as he started speaking Spanish, you were like, "There's enough of that."
Yeah, stop that nonsense. We don't have the rights to the Spanish.
Don't have that. No,
Can only do it on Thursdays with OTC.
Hey, Jim. Apparently, Kepa's going to Arsenal. Yeah. Wonder why they're doing that.
I could see your screen for the last half an hour, and he had
Is that why you've got that look in your eye?
He had YouTube DJ horn, and he just had it on the screen for the last 30 minutes.
Were you waiting for
It's
it?
only ever since
It's like Chekhov's gun.
Yeah, ever since the Raya chat started.
He's not coming in to replace David Raya.
Well, you never know.
We'll see.
Yeah, we will see, won't
We'll
we?
see.
Let's have a little wager.
The proof is in the pudding.
Yep.
Yeah.
And the pudding will be Spanish. Don't know any Spanish puddings, but
well, they're beautiful.
beautiful. Well,
I sort of was hesitant. It's Basque cheesecake. It's still in Spain, though, technically. But I know what I've done there.
That's controversial.
I know what I've done there.
What a shame.
Are churros Spanish? Or are they Mexican?
I think
I
they're
don't
Mexican,
know.
aren't they?
Are they Mexican? Are they? Well,
They're excellent, whatever they are.
either way,
They have iterations in Spanish and Portuguese cuisine. I think we'll allow it.
I think we will, and so will Aaron Ramsey when he goes to Mexico.
Oh, it'd be great if he gets really fat.
Yeah, I mean, Mexican food, we know,
Turns into a fat
especially
piece.
because the Pumas kit has a Pumas face on it,
Yes.
doesn't it? And
Right.
I've got one of those kits, and when I'm carrying a bit of timber, it does look like it's sort of peeking out of a book. That'd be nice to see
Care
on a
Bear.
professional footballer.
yeah.
The Care Bear stare.
Yeah.
I love this. I really do. I think he's. I don't know whether he'll play much or not because we know his injury record, of course. But I have actually seen Pumas Stadium from a distance, and it looks great. It's like like the sort of university stadiums with open roof,
Like in the US,
bowl.
like massive, yeah.
Exactly.
Nice.
It's
yeah.
like one of them, yeah. So with the kit on and all that kind of stuff, yeah.
You quite simply love to see it.
Yes, indeed. He wants to play the World Cup next summer. Providing Wales get there, of course.
Yeah.
So he wants to play football, and why not
That
go
is the
to
way to do it.
go to one of the host nations?
Yeah.
If you say, look, I know
Get settled in.
how to play in this heat.
I'll get you
It's
the best
clever.
churros.
It's very clever, Jim. See what he's doing there, putting in the groundwork. Right. Let's end with some chat about Italy. Luciano Spalletti effectively announced his own sacking as Italy manager in an emotional press conference on Sunday. He would eventually storm out the press conference when he was asked if he felt like he'd been betrayed, which I suppose was kind of a yes answer. Norway beat Italy 3-0. in Group one.
think Norway are probably dark horses for the World Cup.
For the whole tournament.
Yeah.
Oh, fair enough. They pissed all over Italy's Capuchuchu, didn't they, Jim? To quote the great man, on Friday night. And the president of the Italian Football Federation, Gabriele Gravina, said, Norway is a better team than us. Their improvement over the years has been great, and now they are one of the best national teams in the world. So echoing your genuine thoughts there, Jim. Yeah. You can lose against them, but the way they beat us was unacceptable. I mean,
That was a game of two halves, that sentence, wasn't it?
it really was. Norway were 3-0 up at half time.
And they were magnificent. They
It
were really,
felt
really
like
good.
Italy didn't have a midfield, though.
Yes.
Every time Norway came through, they were like, I'm not being tackled.
Yeah.
Just,
Yeah.
I suppose I'll slip one.
You used to have loads of players here. Where are
Like
they?
your whole thing.
they absolutely...
Where have all the good men gone?
Well, Spalletti, 23 matches he's been in charge of Italy, 11 wins. It is not
great
very,
for it.
very
I
good.
think it's important to think back to the final of Euro 2020 and conclude, fuck them.
I think it is, yeah.
Do you know
You're right,
what, though?
actually, yeah.
That tournament now, in the last 10 years, is quite an anomaly.
isn't it? Yeah.
And-
I mean,
Because they didn't qualify for the World Cup, did they?
No, so
They got all the juice out of the remaining kind of legacy players in that
Well,
game.
Yes,
Mancini
yeah.
played a blinder because obviously it's a very annoying for England fans. But I think most people would agree they were the best team at that tournament, or certainly one of the best teams.
Yeah.
So it was a very good show.
Dragging players down with it.
Well, indeed, Peter. But going into that tournament, they were unbeaten. Yes, Peter.
Done me air horns.
I appreciate that. Going into that tournament, they were unbeaten for a while. So, it wasn't just, they just happened to turn up at that tournament. Mancini got them in good shakes. 2014 World Cup, 2010 World Cup, they go out in the first round, don't they? 2014 World Cup, the same. Euro 2016 did all right. 2018 World Cup, they weren't there. They win the Euros. They then failed to qualify for Qatar 2022. And Euro 2024, they were awful. I mean, they got through the group just with a last-minute goal. Okay, they got through. Switzerland hammered them. So they really are. And I mean, it's crazy to say this, having had, because obviously as England fans, I think we'd probably swap it because it would mean a major trophy. But look back at that. Euro 2020 is a complete anomaly. They've been piss poor. And I think after Mancini, where, it was superb for a period, and they win that trophy, and then it goes sour. They turn to Spalletti thinking, he's, with Napoli was very impressive and so
Tactical
on.
genius.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. And it just hasn't happened.
They are in a bit of a crisis in terms of personnel, really. Spalletti himself has bemoaned the fact that there simply aren't enough good Italian players coming through the ranks. So,
But they're better than
maybe
this,
a little-
though.
Well, of course they are. Yeah, you would think. Although, I mean, are they? Norway are a good team.
They're good enough to qualify for a tournament.
Sure. I mean, they're a long way off not doing that yet, though.
Well, indeed. Apparently, Claudio Ranieri is the favourite to take charge.
He must be
That's
a million
quite
years
lovely.
old now.
Yeah.
That is
It would
quite
be a
lovely.
lovely end, wouldn't it?
They're forgetting what he did at Greece.
Yeah. It is a kind of, break glass for emergency appointment, though, isn't it?
Maybe.
Yeah, but this is like the third bit
Like
of
getting
glassy
Harry
break,
Redknapp
isn't it?
now, isn't it?
Yeah, I suppose.
Maybe. Well, Spalletti will quite oddly take charge of tonight's game against Moldova.
Yeah.
Which he said would be his last game.
They'll be executed at the end.
All eyes on that.
Come
That's
on.
going to be an absolute flouncy mess, that one, isn't it?
Get yourself on the bench, Luciano. Come on, just piss about.
Yeah.
Third choice keeper up front.
Bring your toys in. Brilliant.
Just be
Switch 2 on the bench. Just play in Mario Kart.
118. Just piss about.